Hey Earthlings, ZombiesCat here, your guides from ZC66 to movie magic. Get ready for an out-of-this-world cinematic journey.
Today, we're diving into the incredible universe of the 10 Easter eggs in Oppenheimer. First, the apple.
Oppenheimer placed a poison apple injected with sodium cyanide on his tutor's desk, which happened while Oppenheimer was studying at Cambridge University. It happened in the late fall of 1925, and the teacher Oppenheimer tried to poison was Patrick Blackett, the 1948 Nobel Prize winner in physics. Oppenheimer almost poisoned a Nobel Prize winner. This incident left Oppenheimer with a mental illness. Oppenheimer grew up in a wealthy family, but at Cambridge University, he had been surrounded by too many brilliant people. He became frustrated by the fact that he was overshadowed. The inability to accept such a discrepancy led to his jealousy. Actually, he didn't have any animosity with Blackett. He even liked him. But Blackett was an experimental physicist who often forced Oppenheimer to do experiments. Unluckily, this is Oppenheimer's shortcoming, and he always makes a mess of the laboratory, which causes Oppenheimer to crave more and more recognition and attention. At the same time, Blackett's achievements in physics make Oppenheimer jealous. The unbalanced sense of disparity, the unrecognized research, and the untouchable accolades. These stimulated a darkness in him that drove his mental state further and further out of control, leading him to the extreme act of poisoning. When his crime was discovered, he was almost prosecuted. Fortunately, he had a powerful and wealthy father. With his connections and money, Cambridge decided to put Oppenheimer on probation. After this, Oppenheimer continued to receive psychotherapy, but 4 different psychiatrists failed to cure him. It was his habit of reading that saved him. It's a classic quote from In Search of Lost Time. If she could but realize that, like all human beings, she bore within her the seeds of callousness toward the suffering she would cause, perhaps she would not insist, as she did, on attributing to wickedness so rare, so exceptional, and so inaccessible a status, and would not consider herself henceforth exempt from all responsibility. That inner callousness, under whatever name people might disguise it, was something dreadful and everlasting. Oppenheimer's realization that there may be a dark side in everyone dissolved his guilt over the wrong he had done and stopped the mental conflict. Oppenheimer got through the worst of it when he went on a tour of Leiden University organized by Cambridge. Here Oppenheimer met Max Born. When he met Oppenheimer, he admired him and recognized his talent. At Max's invitation, Oppenheimer was taken to the University of Göttingen, which at that time was the center of theoretical physics. Oppenheimer agreed, and it changed his fate. He was painfully confused in an unsuitable environment when he realized that nurturing people is like nurturing flowers, finding the right environment and soil to grow strong. Although the poison apple is short in the movie, it shows Oppenheimer's maniacal state of mind at the time. Second, the secret death of Jean Tatlock. Jean was the love of Oppenheimer's life. He proposed to her twice and was rejected. Even though Oppenheimer married Kitty, he still had the role of marrying Jean if she wanted him to. Regarding her death, Oppenheimer and her father agree that she committed suicide because she suffered from depression and was on medication. But Jean's brother thinks she was murdered by the CIA, because Jean was a staunch believer in the Communist Party. In the context of the Cold War, she had been thought a bridge between the Soviet Union and Oppenheimer by the CIA. They've been spying on her. Moreover, chloral hydrate was found in Jean's digestive system, which mixed with alcohol can easily cause dizziness and falls, so it makes sense that her brother would suspect the CIA. And in the movie, there are 2 versions of Jean's death. One is that she was forced into the bathtub by the Black Hand. The other is that she walked into the bathtub herself. No one can know the truth about her death. Oppenheimer's whole life was a mystery, and that's one of the reasons Oppenheimer was so defensive about the CIA. The third, Oppenheimer Kitty. They met at a party. Kitty fell in love with Oppenheimer at first sight. Before that, Kitty had been married 3 times. When they met, Kitty had a husband. Her husband's name is Harrison, and he's friends with Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer invited the couple on vacation, but Harrison refused and Oppenheimer went with Kitty. They had an affair, and Kitty got pregnant. Oppenheimer is also gossiped about by his friends for stealing Harrison's wife. The fourth, Oppenheimer asked Håkan Chevalier to take care of the baby. This story is true, because Kitty had a premature birth. It took a huge toll on her body. She suffered from postpartum depression. Oppenheimer, who had a busy job, had to ask for their help. Mr. and Mrs. Håkan were kind enough to take care of the baby for 2 months. Oppenheimer also takes care of the baby himself in his spare time. But Kitty had no interest in the baby, even when she stayed at the Los Alamos National Laboratory. To prevent the leakage of information, the army posted guards around Oppenheimer's residence. The indifferent Kitty even asked the guards to help her with the baby. Upon learning the news, the army was immediately withdrawn. Kitty fails to take any advantage. The fifth, why Oppenheimer is cold to his sister-in-law. In the movie, when Frank introduces his girlfriend Jackie to Robert, Robert's attitude is very disdainful, because Jackie is just a waitress. Frank is Robert's brother, so not only is he rich, he has a doctor's degree. Jackie is also much older than Frank, so there's a big gap between their education and their families. Robert even told Jackie they weren't compatible, but they got married anyway. Jackie and Kitty were not on good terms. Robert often teased Jackie for being just a waitress. The sixth, the origin of the Trinity. Trinity comes from John Donne's sonnet, "Batter my heart, three-person God." John Donne was one of Gene's favorite poets, and Oppenheimer used his former lover's favorite poem as a code name for the first nuclear explosion. It was a way of honoring her memory. The seventh, Los Alamos. This place means a lot to Oppenheimer. In high school, he stayed home for 2 months because he was sick. He was very depressed about Los Alamos. So his parents asked his teacher to take him on a trip, and they went to this beautiful canyon, Los Alamos, and it became known as Oppenheimer's spiritual corner. He asked his father to lease the land. He bought it in 1941 for $10,000. Oppenheimer's life's ambition was to combine physics with Los Alamos. The atomic bomb research program allowed him to fulfill that wish. But unfortunately, this undeveloped paradise was eventually destroyed by nuclear testing. Los Alamos seems to be a metaphor for the whole world. Oppenheimer loved Los Alamos, America, and the world. But one decision he makes, without realizing it, could put the love of his life in jeopardy. The eighth, Isidore Isaac Ruby. Oppenheimer's friend Ruby questioned the development of the atomic bomb. He said he didn't want the greatest invention in 3 centuries to become a weapon of destruction. Instead of the atomic bomb, Ruby believed that the war could be won by radar technology. Ruby was so strongly opposed to the development of the bomb because he had witnessed the Japanese air raids on the outskirts of Shanghai in 1931. In fact, it's true what Oppenheimer said. As long as there is science, as long as there is war, mankind will develop even more destructive weapons, and there will be no end to it. The ninth, the military prevented Oppenheimer's brother participating in nuclear testing. Oppenheimer insisted that his brother Frank be involved in nuclear testing, but the military tried to stop him. That's because Frank and his wife Jackie were both communists. They had formed a communist cell. This group also included Chen Shueisen, a Chinese 2 bombs and 1-star medalist. But Oppenheimer had a very good reason for having Frank on the team. Frank was very, very good at experimental physics, which is exactly where Robert was lacking. And it's understandable that he wanted to work with his brother on the big event of his life, the nuclear test. Despite all the obstacles, the bond between the brothers is very strong. The 10th, don't take in the sheets. Don't take in the sheets is what Oppenheimer said at the hearing. It was concluded that he wouldn't be given a security clearance, and that meant he couldn't do any important work. It was a pact he made with his wife. Before the nuclear test, he said if it worked, he'd tell his wife to take the sheets back. If it fails, don't take the sheets back. Oppenheimer was so excited about the success of the bomb that he had his wife told to take the sheets back. When he was denied a security clearance at the hearing, he probably already knew that a lot of things were completely out of his control. So he was very disappointed, which means he even wished the bomb had never been developed. He regretted doing the work, and that was also a message to his wife, that he had failed in this hearing. Thanks for joining ZombiesCat on this cosmic ride through the 10 Easter eggs in Oppenheimer. Abduct the subscribe button, hit the bell, and stay me out of this world. Until next time, keep those reels rolling. ZombiesCat signing off.